and welcome to another episode of Daddy Chats. I believe it's 9 or 10, but I've already lost count. I have here with me, I've already messed up, Lucy and Ellie from Roman Found. Would you like to introduce yourself, guys?
Yeah, so, I'm Ellie.
I'm Lucy.
We're Roman Found. We're, metal detecting content creators. That's not two things that normally go together, but we're here and we're doing it.
I think it's brilliant what you guys do. I think it's something that's very stigmatized as well. Like I remember, I think the first conversation I had with you guys was the sort of stigma you get. You get a lot of grief online with people saying, "Oh, it's private property" and stuff like that.
Yeah, we get like a lot of different opinions from people.
Yeah.
People have the hobby.
People have very strong opinions about a hobby, which I think is quite small. But I feel like that's because people aren't educated about it. Like people don't know enough about the hobby, so therefore they have these strong conflicting opinions that can. It's just because they have this twisted idea that it's all pillaging and treasure hunting, which really isn't what it's about.
No, and I think online as well, particularly on like platforms like TikTok, your videos are going out to people that may have never
the wider world
interacted with the hobby, so they kind of have preconceived views or ideas. And I think sometimes the comments that you get are sometimes not personally aimed at you, but kind of just like at the hobby in general.
Particularly from we've had a lot of archaeologists abroad comment before, because every single country has got its own specific rules about metal detecting and the code of conduct and practice and stuff. And there's a lot of countries where it's banned or it's illegal, and you just it's a blanket no, it's not happening here at all, and it's seen as stealing from the state.
So we have I think a lot of our time is spent educating people about the laws in the UK that we go by.
Yeah, because nobody would be allowed to metal detect in the UK without the portable antiquity scheme, which is what enables metal detectors to record the finds, record the history, and it kind of lets archaeologists and metal detectors work together because it's all public knowledge, so anybody can do research about that land based on the finds that were found there by the metal detectorists. But yeah.
I mean, I think it's good because it's a sort of double whammy. You're revealing these objects that otherwise probably wouldn't be found as well. They're in areas where there's very little archaeological digs, or the archaeological digs are long gone, and obviously stuff's easily missed because a lot of UK digs. When I was doing a video on one of my historical heroes, Ethelfled, Lady of Mercia. One of the big archaeological digs was in the 1800s, where they found a load of evidence of one of the I believe, was it an Irish Norse army that had come in, and so they found that settlement. But of course they didn't have the technology we have now, so they probably missed a lot of stuff. And it's at the same time you're educating and opening up people to especially the laws of the UK, because like you say, it's different. Yeah, I know some areas in the US are very, very strict on where you can do. How do you? Sorry, go.
I guess that makes me think of where we dig mostly is on farmland.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, none of that is accessible for doing archaeological digs.
Well, because the farmers won't have it, the land people won't have it. Yeah,
it's working land, so it's sort of. A lot of the time the farmers don't really want it tied up in being dig sites and that kind of thing. But I guess most of important historical sites in the UK are scheduled monuments.
Yeah, so there is no metal detecting allowed across those, and only the archaeologists are allowed to come in with their brushes and their tools to dig those ones up.
Yeah.
But where most metal detecting is all on farmland, and that is the most important thing, because the plough is probably the biggest killer of archaeological digs places. So we've found several finds which have been split into several pieces by the plough, and have been lucky enough to be able to recover all pieces of that artifact.
Sort of jigsaw them back together.
But without us finding those, they would have just been lost forever.
Oh
yeah.
I think it's an incredibly important thing to do, because obviously archaeological digs take a lot of money as well. So if you guys can come in for obviously there's a decent amount of money still involved for the actual metal detector itself, but on a relatively low budget, and obviously getting other people involved can help spare a lot of these, because everyone focuses on the big kings and queens, the Augustus and the Alexander the Great. I'm known for going over Alexander the Great. but it's the smaller day-to-day things like the coins. Like I saw your video. I can't remember which one it was where you took out the coin and was just talking about how someone had dropped that. And it's something we don't think about because it humanizes people from the past, and that's an incredibly important thing. I think it's something we forget because when I always cry when I talk about World War One stuff because my brain humanizes. I've seen the photos and the videos, but when I'm talking about a battle from 2,000 years ago, it doesn't happen. So I think humanization, especially from that far back, is incredibly important.
And just talking about the cost of like doing archaeological dig, it's so true about, I think, metal detectorists essentially for free are sort of filling in a lot of the blanks
on the archaeological maps
of places where digs don't happen or we don't know much information about. So we're kind of in a way doing it.
But then it also like you said, like the humanization of it, especially because we're out there on the land that these people have walked across, finding the objects that they have lost on that land. Like it makes you feel very like connected to your dig place, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially for us because we've been on our permission for 2 years. Like we know it very well. We know all the locals. Like we're basically part of the fabric of the.
And I think because we've sort of focused in this one area, we've been able to like understand like how people have used the land over millennia.
Yeah.
And sort of paint a better picture of sort of what happened there.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of like our content as well, like humanizing these objects for like our followers and viewers, I think like
it's a large part of what we do, isn't it? Is trying to make these objects have a character and
bring like emotion back into it, into these inanimate objects.
It also opens up, like you say, you've become sort of part of the fabric of the local community. It opens up the history of that local community as well, and the different local communities that would have come in and gone and returned as time's gone on. I think that's amazing. I remember my old job talking to my boss, and we was just talking about like one of the battles that Alfred the Great fought, and actually one of their camps was like up the top of the road. It's literally, I think it's like a fish and chip shop now, or a pub. It's a pub. I believe it's a pub. Where I live, there's a pub every 4 foot. And it's just amazing because I wouldn't see where I live as this great spot for a battle to come up, and it's I think it's mad because obviously it's like you sort of imagine history as Lord of the Rings in a way. You imagine it as this far off fantasy land, and so you're bringing it into like, wow, there was a Roman like walking through here.
Yeah, I think you forget they were kind of just like everyday people just going about their business. Like, yeah, you sort of do. So I don't know, it gets fantasized a lot, but then I think when you're finding stuff that are like everyday objects.
Yeah, like your spindle whorls, your thimbles, like your rings, stuff that we still have today that they still value back like 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, it really brings it home, doesn't it?
They were just people living their lives.
Living about the land, doing the same as we did. We always joke.
Making things, working the land, and just stuff that people sort of still do there today. In terms of,
very true, actually.
In terms of farming.
Yeah.
And
does it often surprise you, like when you say you find stuff like thimbles and that, how little some of the objects that we've had have changed? Like there's still stuff we use today that really hasn't changed in 2,000 years.
Yeah, like massively. Thimbles are a really good example. I'm trying to think of like. Other things we find are like gaming pieces.
Yeah, gaming pieces. I mean, we were still playing board games back in like the Viking and Saxon times, and we found several of these little gaming pieces, which are they're tiny little domed lead like figures, aren't they? With
like Monopoly figures, sort of thing.
Yeah, sort of. yeah. But they're more like just like little domes. They occasionally have little prongs on them, which are there are talked about them having some kind of like
it makes you like think about like people still that back then needed their entertainment, and
we sit and just play board games much like we do today, especially at Christmas.
Yeah. Well, that was what I've just I mean, by the time this goes out, it will have been up. My Christmas special was on Saturnalia, and I was really, when I went into that, I was expecting some kind of alien festival was going to be completed, but Saturnalia is almost spot on our Christmas. No, how little that's changed, and like you say, playing stuff at Christmas now. They were playing these games. They were hiding. I've never done it, but I know it's a Christmas tradition of some people where you hide like coins and stuff inside cakes. And I was like, wait, that started like 3,000 years ago, and it's amazing to me that is so.
Like we were looking into Saturnalia as well recently because we did our Roman Christmas feast special, which was all about the food they ate at Saturnalia, where we actually cooked a Saturnalia feast.
And we ate it. We're like, we'd probably still have this at like Christmas today. Like, it was a generally good feast.
Like, why is it so civilized? It was like they were actually like such civilized people that you just don't realize.
Yeah.
But like we were learning about Saturnalia, like they would have wreaths on their doors, like decorated the house with greenery. They'd gift candles to each other, and then like a large part that I also looked into was they used to gift little ornaments to each other, like which were almost like the predecessor to decorations. They would make little clay figurines, and then that's what they would gift to each other on the last day of the festival. I think it's called Signalarium.
Signaria. I always, whenever it's a Latin word, I always pronounce it, and then someone goes, "That you've pronounced it in English."
We will pronounce everything in horrifically British accents throughout the whole, or sometimes Kiwi accents throughout the whole podcast. So don't you worry there.
I think I have a friend who's part Italian and speaks Italian, and I remember the first time I heard that you're meant to say Caesar as Kaiser, and I was saying it to him, and I was sounding really proud of myself, and I was going Julius Kaiser, and he turned around and he goes, "You know it's pronounced Julius, right?" And I went, "What?" And it like blew my mind, and he went through, like, obviously because it's still similar to Latin, and he was sitting there and was like, you and I was like, I've made so many videos where I proudly said that, so it was a very humbling moment. But what are some of the like the difficulties you've had whilst out metal detecting and stuff like that, and what are some of the real fun stuff you've had over the years?
I'd say, like, in terms of difficulties, I mean, just getting a permission is difficult.
Yeah, that's like difficulty number one.
That's probably like, I'd say the hardest part of metal detecting.
Getting the land to dig
somewhere to dig, because it's not easy at all.
No.
And people in the past have had either bad experiences. I think there was, in the 80s, there was a bit of a Wild West, I think.
I think it might have been a little bit. It's because the hobby was new.
It was before the portable antiquity scheme,
before proper laws and stuff were brought in, so it was a bit feral.
The Wild West, really.
The Wild West, basically.
Untamed territory, so to speak.
Yes, basically.
So
because you need the land.
Like farmers have long memories.
They do. They stretch back generations. I've spoken to many, and they definitely do. Because you need the landowner's permission to dig anywhere. It is very hard. First of all, just finding who owns the land. Like there is no magical book which tells you who owns things. You literally have to get out and search.
Or talk to
people, word of mouth. Like, it's the only way you can find out. And then you have to ask for permission, and then make sure that they have enough of an understanding about the hobby, about what kind of permission you need, but not too much that they get scared of you.
Yeah.
Like, there's a fine line about going in with too many facts and underprepared, isn't there?
Yeah.
And like, I feel like that's the hardest thing of all, is getting the permission. But then once you got it, you just literally got to do everything in your power to keep hold of it. We were just doing Christmas elf thing today, weren't we? Taking around Christmas cards and chocolate to all of our farmers and various related land people.
That's brilliant.
And but I guess in terms of like difficulties metal detecting, I'd say probably like the weather conditions.
Oh, the weather, yeah, because it is winter months now.
And like even the ground can be sticky and horrible and wet or frozen. There's just so many variables and the conditions that you dig in, and just being like prepared for that. I think you kind of I think you sort of forget that we're still like experiencing the outdoors. It's very much like rooted in like an outdoor hobby aside from the history. So you really have to be quite like...
You have to kind of think about it as like hiking, but you dig in every step. So like
Yeah.
every couple of meters that you're hiking, you're digging a hole and pulling something out of the ground. And then you even got to think about the fact that everything you pull out of the ground, you have to then carry with you. So
yeah.
And like we go out for sometimes 8 to 10 hours. So you can imagine that we're dragging a lot of horseshoes around with us at the end of the day, and it's quite heavy. So you have to be prepared for, I think, every eventuality.
Yeah, even like freak weather systems, like we've kind of
Phone chargers.
experienced it all.
Yeah, we have experienced it all, yeah. And we've been trying to like write some of our experiences and knowledge into articles to try and help people starting out. Like we've just done the survival guide to winter digging because it is a feral season, but it is worth going out in winter because we've had some great finds this winter, some really good finds. And then the flip side is summer is also just as hard because it's baking hot. You get heat exhaustion.
You get heat stroke.
The ground is hard to dig. It's basically, if you're especially in clay, it's like drilling through concrete.
I think there's been times when we've been out and you sort of just like look into the distance and it's like a mirage.
Yeah.
On the horizon, and you're just in like a field, but it literally could be like the desert.
Literally can be like the desert
because like sometimes these ploughed fields, they are quite barren, and then in that summer heat they just sort of like
essentially desert.
Yeah, like a desert.
And especially like it depends how big your permission is, but we have some very remote places we have to walk sometimes 40 minutes to get to. So it's like there's a lot of more physical toll involved than people realize, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But then it's worth it. I mean, like the things that we've found, like adventures we've had, it's really been such one of the most rewarding hobbies I've ever done, for sure.
It always looks like I mean, I've caught a couple of your lives, and I've always thought to myself, how is that phone staying charged? Because whenever I'm on a TikTok live, that the battery is gone, and I have an Android as well. I always annoy my iPhone friends when I'm like, my battery lasts, and this TikTok just goes, no, that's mine.
Oh man,
so
it drains
completely
phones.
drains. We can only tend to do about 30 minutes to 40 minutes. Then we have to put the battery back on for a good 30-40 minutes. Then we can go another 30-40
We've got
minutes.
it's like a juice bank, it's called, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a juice bank free, I think, and that keeps us nice and juiced up for the 3 hours of TikTok lives we normally do when we go out.
Yeah, those battery packs. I think when I first started like doing TikTok stuff, I was the battery portable chargers are one of the biggest lifesavers. I think.
Oh, they are for sure. But then you need one that's like, especially for digging, you need one that's a bit robust, can be a bit feral.
Yeah.
Can be covered in mud and thrown in a pocket, and you don't need to worry about it. You need one that's cheap, cheerful, easy to replace.
Yeah. I find that the cheaper stuff often ends up, if you buy a really expensive one, it breaks after a week. But if you buy a cheap one, it somehow will survive the next 12 years. It may charge.
It lasts us all.
Weirdly sturdy, aren't they?
Weirdly sturdy. Yeah. They're just making them out of the best plastic. That's what it is.
Yeah.
The finest plastic is reserved only for the cheapest items.
It's the plastic they found on the back of a truck, and they were like, we'll use this one. So moving away slightly from metal detecting, who are some of your favourite historical figures?
I feel like this is a tricky question that we're both not prepared for.
I feel like for us, when it comes to like history and figures, we're often like still relating it back to our finds.
Yeah, we're most connected to the history that surrounds our finds, just because I don't know, we just have such a deep personal, emotional connection to them all.
But a lot of the, I guess, historical figures that we've found, a lot of them are not very nice.
Well, yeah,
Henry VIII.
No, I can understand why you wouldn't like him.
Even some of the Roman emperors that we found, like they've all got some dubious history behind them.
Nasty past.
There was several killings of families and all of this, and I think it was Constantius II who killed half of his family so he could take the throne. Or there's several emperors that have all done the
dirty deed.
I remember watching a documentary when I was little where there was like the most dangerous job in history, and this guy was looking at data and he straight up was like, the most dangerous job in history was being a Roman emperor, because you probably killed someone to get there, so you've got everyone out for revenge, and you've got about 5 other people ready to kill you so that they can beat the emperor.
It's very much like Game of Thrones, isn't it?
Especially in the 3rd and 4th century, which is the most common, which is what we are digging. We are mostly digging 3rd and 4th century Roman Britain, and it's the most volatile part of the Roman Empire, where they're just killing everybody left, right, and centre, and emperors are barely on the throne a few years before the next one's in. And it'll be like his long lost cousin that was with Uncle Joe, who's then come back from being a 12-year-old and suddenly killed who was on the throne. It's like,
But we always get excited when we find like a new emperor, but then we sort of delve into the history and it's like another
tyrant.
Another awful person. That's the problem. That I had that realization. So I used to be a really big fan of Catherine the Great, because I was like everyone talks about the amazing stuff. Like, she pushed forward women's rights amazingly. She pushed forward vaccines and medicine and improved standards of living in Russia. And then I was like, and then I dug into it and I was like, she killed 20,000 Polish people in one campaign. She backtracked on all of her reforms because she realised that she was giving too much power to the populace. And I was like, no, I want to stop. But once you dig it, I think we have, it's the opposite side. We're opposite side of the humanisation of history, where we have rose-tinted glasses with certain... Like, I definitely have it with Alexander the Great. I've made that joke to myself, where I'm like, where everyone's like, hey, he didn't. No, I didn't. No, Alexander didn't kill all those people in that city. You've heard the wrong thing. But I think it's...
that's just the truth, is that as soon as you start really digging into a lot of the historical figures, a lot of them are remembered
better
for their stuff. Yeah,
these horrible things that they did as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Like being like the great, the great for what reason? Because they probably
killed a lot of people.
Won a few wars. So you're always going to have kind of like the winners and the losers of history, and who tells that story.
I feel like the real message is don't research your heroes.
Yeah. That goes for modern day heroes as well. Any celebrities you like, because I've done it a couple times. And I'm like, they did what in the 80s?
Don't dig too deep. You don't want to know.
Yeah,
just be happy with what it is.
It's kind of like the similar thing of don't meet your heroes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
don't research your heroes.
To be fair, I haven't met many of my celebrity heroes. Well, most of my heroes are currently very much dead because they're from thousands of years ago, so I haven't got to worry about that too much. But I feel like that when I got older and sort of the mirage of Alexander the Great faded, and then I went from look how amazing he is. He did the Siege of Tyre, and then I went, oh no, that he killed a lot of people when he did that. It's like, it goes from this great historical achievement to, I feel a bit uncomfortable talking about this now.
But no, I feel like we have the same.
With people that we find,
things that we find.
We get excited and we're like, I've just learnt they killed half their family. Just learnt that they did some awful things.
Like I say, it's the opposite. You have to sort of go from humanizing history to like disconnecting yourself, because I always say there's no like nation, person, or like culture anywhere in the world where you can go 100%. Oh, these were the good guys. At some point, you're going to come across something. You're like, no. But speaking of that, what is your favourite historical period or like specific moment in history?
Ooh, this is a good one. I feel like we can definitely answer this one.
What are you thinking?
I feel like mine's got to be Romans. I don't know. There's just. I mean, when we first,
that's fair enough.
Yeah, no surprise there. But no, I mean, when we first started digging, Roman was what we wanted to find. Like, even now, I get most excited finding Roman stuff. Like, I love researching the Roman stuff the most. I love looking into the Roman history surrounding our permission. Like, that is just for me, like, that's my favourite.
I think what my favourite would be. I've always kind of I've always quite liked, just from like a personal preference in terms of just like movies and books that I consume, it's all been sort of like Regency.
Yeah.
Or like Jane Austen, that kind of period, which is when
is that Jacobean?
Georgian sort of period?
Georgian,
yeah.
I think I should know that.
But we know the best finds of Roman.
Yeah.
The best finds of Roman.
I mean, in terms of finds, I think just in terms of like, like I said, culture, like literature, period films. I saw that Regency period I quite enjoy.
Yeah.
But then in terms of finds, I quite like Saxon finds.
Just because they're quite rare. Quite rare to find Saxon finds. It's a fascinating period that the world doesn't know much about.
Yeah, I guess that's so very true. The Dark Ages.
The so-called Dark Ages of the history books. simply because the Romans left and also took with them their literacy, and people would stopped writing things down.
I think that's such a shame, especially like the bit of British history before the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes all come in. And I always like to remind, especially people who are really into Anglo-Saxon history, like, the Angles and the Saxons pretty much started out like the Vikings did when they came over. Like, it was pretty much that they did the same thing. Again, it goes back to when you dig deep enough, you start getting that.
Yeah.
But I wish we had more like written works on like the Celtic kingdoms that sprung up after Rome left.
Definitely.
Yeah, so this year for us was our first time finding Celtic finds.
We're lucky enough to find 2 Celtic coins this year.
And even that is sort of like a whole nother period to look into. I think that's what is kind of like hard about what we do, is like, I think a lot of people that love history, they kind of have like one area that they really obsess about and
know everything about.
But I think because we base our love of history around kind of what we find, we sort of jumping
we have
times
like
and periods.
A blanket knowledge. Like I could talk to you about Roman, but then I could also talk to you in great detail about 19th century trade tokens, like some kind of niche time that we found that like I know everything about, but like we just have like pockets of history based around what we find.
I guess our most recent of new eras has been the Celtic.
We're learning about the tribe that we've been finding.
Yeah, starting to learn about our local tribe.
That we like to call them. Our local tribe, but they did cover the whole of Lincolnshire. But yeah.
That's a pretty big local tribe. They did fairly well. I mean, I know roughly of, I believe it's like 16 kingdoms. I could be very, very wrong about that, because everything we know are like from Roman sources where the Western Roman Empire was like just watching and like, what's going on in the old? Because one of my favourite facts about Roman Britain was Nero pretty much wanted out. I'm not 100%. I have never fully verified it, but this was like one of the things I remember. You know when you remember a historical fact, like I need to verify that one day, but you never get it. But it's like, so apparently Nero really wanted out of Britain, and he was like, this costs, because Britain was the money drainer for the Roman Empire. It didn't really, apart from copper, it didn't really produce much. It was better as a trade partner, and so Nero really wanted out. And if it wasn't for the Battle of Watling Street, like he was pretty much like, you've got one more chance. If you lose to Boudicca again, or Boadicea, because I know people pronounce it both ways and they'll get mad at me in the comments. If you lose to Boudicca again, we're pulling out of Britain. And then the Watling Street happened, and Nero was like, oh, really? I have to keep it. We can't win a battle, and then I'm like, well, we'll pull out. Although, to be fair, that's kind of what they did in Scotland. They beat the Picts, but the Picts were amazing at guerrilla warfare, which brings me to another question. Is there, if you could, would you like to explore areas outside of like Lincolnshire and that?
Oh, I think.
Well, we've occasionally done the odd rally, like group dig out of the Shire.
The digging festivals of the year. We've been to a few now, but and they're always good fun. But then because you're only there for a weekend, you don't get as attached to the land, do you?
No,
because you don't
get to entrench yourself in the history as much.
Yeah,
but I'm trying to think where.
I think it would be nice to have like a little spot similar to our permission that we have now, like maybe somewhere else, somewhere with completely different.
Where would
history.
You reckon?
I don't know, Mum. I don't know. I was trying to think. I mean, down south has got the best finds, because that's obviously where where most of the populace was. But then I feel like Scotland has got some of the more interesting finds, just because finding stuff up there is so like rare and like important. So I don't know. Is it maybe Scotland? Maybe somewhere near Havenswall.
Maybe Scotland. I think
I'd like Scotland with a touch of Roman in it.
Yeah.
I'd love to explore. I'd 100%. If you ever get a permit for Scotland, I will 100% be like, I'm joining. I want to come on a trip, because you saying niche periods. I will go like ancient Greece, like Anglo-Saxon Britain, and I'll be randomly like the Picts. I really love like the Picts and the idea of this group of people that turned round to the biggest power in Europe at the time and were like, no, sorry, you're not here, and like quite literally,
it's amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah. And I think we both have Scottish heritage.
Yeah, well, my last name's Bruce, so it's very Scottish. We've got our own Scottish tartan.
That is very Scottish. Bruce, that would 100%. Yeah, I would 100%.
Hundreds of years, I think, the Bruce name.
100%. If I had Bruce as my last name, I'd be dressing up as Robert the Bruce every single day. I'd be going up to Scotland, being like, I'm the king. Guys, do you believe that would be? I'm too much of a wind-up merchant to be given power like that. I'd take too much use of it. I would definitely be thrown out of Scotland very quickly, but it'd be fun while it lasted. And some of your favourite finds.
Oh no, I feel like we could go on for days about this question. We've just got too many. We were trying to pick our like top favourite finds of the year, and that took a long time, didn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to like narrow them down.
I think because we've been sort of looking at it from like this year, but from our whole
digging,
it's probably our gold half angel.
I mean,
that's got to be up there.
I feel like that's a moment that you can't live again. Like that was like one epic moment, wasn't it? I mean, it's not every day that your first gold coin turns out to be a gold Henry VII half angel, like in like mint flat condition, as clear and crisp as the day it was dropped. That was like
that was really special.
Really special. And a rainbow was involved, and like the most amazing story about finding it, and like it was all
just like everything that you could like. It just sounds like
that sounds like a movie.
It sounds made up.
It sounds made up. Like
it sounds like a movie. It sounds like you're pitching me the screenplay to like the biggest archaeological movie of the decade.
The Roma fan movie. Yeah. But no. But yeah, I think that's always got to be like one of the top.
And it's a weird one for me, because I haven't done it much this year.
No, not much this year, no.
But sometimes I get like a premonition.
Like a vibe.
A vibe of when we go into a field, I'll be like, oh yeah, today we're definitely finding something like ancient today, or
something good.
And I've not really done this in many fields, but the first time I walked into the field where we found our gold coin, I said, this is where we're going to find a gold coin.
You were like, this is the field we're going to find gold in. And we didn't find it that week. And we didn't find it the week after.
3 weeks after.
But a couple of weeks after, it was a miserable day as well. Because it had been raining all day, but it was like that kind of like, you know, that drizzle that drenches you. Like it doesn't feel like it's raining properly. But by the end of the day, you're literally like soaked to everything. So it was that kind of day. It was bitterly cold. It'd been doing that all day.
Yeah.
And we've got quite the hill on our permission. We dragged ourselves.
We've been up on the hill all
the way
day,
up to the top.
And then we're like, oh, let's go down through the field.
Because it's quite a big field.
And there was like a rainbow appeared like across the whole field. And literally like either end of it was like basically in the field. It was just this massive double rainbow above the field, and we were just like joking.
I remember we were about to leave because we were quite dejected. It had been a very difficult day, and we'd just spoken to a dog walker about a buckle that we'd found, and we were like about to go off. And then this like the rain kind of cleared and this rainbow appeared
like over the field, and we both joked to be like, "Oh, should we walk to the end of the rainbow and
maybe we'll find some gold?"
So we did. We walked to the end and we didn't find anything. We had a couple targets, and then we're like, "Okay, let's leave." Then we were walking back to the gate to go home. Then I got the signal. I was like,
you were like, "Oh, that sounds good.
Oh, this is a real good one." And it was really close to the surface. And I thought, I don't know what I thought it was going to be.
Well, it's because it was one of those days. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes we try and be good. And when we set out for a metal detector, we'll be like, oh, we're going to have a good content day today. So we'll try and film lots of
bits. Lots of B-roll.
Get lots of B-roll, like the spade shots, like a bit of ASMR. So like we've got some nice B footage that we can fill in everywhere.
Yeah. I'll get a really good like ASMR spade shot. So I had my camera like set up right where the spade was to dig.
Yeah.
And Ellie just dug this
like it
was
I dug a tiny target because it was close to the surface. Like it was only a couple of inches below it was maybe an inch, maybe 2 inches below the surface. So I used the pinpointer to pinpoint where it was on top. So I just dug this tiny triangle plug, flipped it over,
and then
it was
Ellie
like
just made this sound that I've like never heard her make in my life.
It was like somebody had stolen all of the air from my lungs.
I literally knew straight away that we'd found gold because I'm like, Ellie's never made that sound before. It was
only do it for something epic.
It was like her soul leaving her body. It was just so funny.
Because I flipped back that clod, and like there was just this massive gold coin just like staring back at me. And I knew immediately that it was hammered, and it was medieval or Tudor, just from staring at them and dreaming in the picture books.
Yeah, it was literally
And,
like you couldn't like make it up.
You really couldn't make it up. And it was also like, it was like getting dusky. It
was just like perfect.
That genuinely is like the stars aligned for that. That is genuine and amazing. If I didn't know you guys and you told me that like in a first meeting, I'd be like, no, there's no. That is actually an incredible. That's like something you'd hear in a medieval legend. Like you find a dragon's lair full of gold.
Literally was. I mean, genuinely, that's why you do the hobby, because you do have days like that. Like,
those moments.
They do happen.
It's not the first time we've had like the stars align for us. Like we've had stuff like that happen on live with other finds. It's sort of, we just weirdly sometimes had these moments where we sort of
like these spooky stars aligning.
Spooky moments happen a lot.
The universe is working with us sometimes. It's not always against us.
The universe is working with you to sort of reveal this literally lost history in times. So what got you into like or metal detecting and stuff like that? What was the first sort of catalyst that started this?
Well, I feel like it was COVID, really, wasn't it? COVID was the catalyst that started Roman Found, because we were both off doing our own thing, living our own lives, and then we were both like trapped in Lincoln for COVID. Like Lucy's meant to be in New Zealand. She was like trapped here.
We were so we sort of kind of just had to like figure out what we could, like things that we could do that we were allowed to do. And luckily, I think for certain periods during the lockdowns and stuff, metal detecting was actually allowed.
So it was sort of like,
you're out in a field, you could social distance, like they were still allowing people to do it. Not during all of COVID, but I think towards the later.
Which is when we started. Because, I mean, I'd come back from uni, and I used to do a lot of mudlarking down in uni. And obviously, it's not very good for mudlarking up here in Lincolnshire. We don't quite have the tides or the rivers for it.
Tidal rivers.
The Withham's a bit too deep to go mudlarking in the thing. So I was just a bit down about it, because I just always loved finding things, especially. Like I used to pick up pottery in fields as a kid. Like I always loved finding things. My mum said to me, she was like, why don't you try metal detecting? She was like, it's basically like land mudlarking. She was like, how hard can it be? And I bet she really wishes she never ever suggested it, because now we go every single week and the house is full of mud.
I saw one of your posts on Instagram a couple of weeks ago where you was like, well, when this goes out, it'll be a couple of months ago, but like where you was just covered in mud, and I was like, but you both looked like you was having the best time ever as well.
We do. It's because you don't notice it till you get home.
Yeah, we generally do have a lot of fun, and like it isn't usually until we're like inside a warm house that we realise like how cold we are and how like.
It's not until I look in the mirror that I realise just how muddy I am.
Or how like covered in mud you are.
Or how like difficult the day's been. That doesn't sink in until you get home, because you're just having too much fun the whole time.
I think there's like kind of like a bit of an adrenaline as well when you are finding like good finds, and it kind of just like spurs you on and like keeps you going. Like it's quite hard to stop. It's definitely like very addictive.
Oh, I feel like metal detection is a very addictive hobby. Like it's incredibly addictive. It should be up there with one of the biggest addictions, because we genuinely can't stop. Like we come home like an hour after sunset, because we're in that field and we're still hunting, and we literally like can't stop, because we're like, well, what's next? What are we going to find next?
There's that one more find.
Most people who start metal detecting, it like becomes an obsession.
Oh, immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, we dig once a week, every week, without fail. For like 8 hours. It's quite an obsession.
So what got you into not only metal detecting, but then like posting it online and actually like sharing the knowledge and the wealth, so to speak?
Well, I feel like we're both creative. We're both designers.
I'm trying to think like the moment when we were like, let's post a picture on Instagram. I can't even think.
We had a discussion about setting up an Instagram for.
I think it's because like there's definitely a lot of like mudlarkers who are quite like prolific on social media, YouTube, everywhere,
etc.
But we kind of felt like there weren't many like women's voices or like creative women's voices in like the metal detecting world. It's like very male dominated.
Yeah, definitely.
The hobby, and I think we just wanted to bring our voice, like our perspective
And I
to
think
it.
being both designers, we bring a creative spin to it, which is maybe slightly different to what is already out there. I think
Yeah.
you'd picked your camera back up for the
That's
first
true.
time in
I
years.
hadn't I used to do photography. I think last time I sort of did it like a little bit properly was sort of like uni or like, high school uni. So I hadn't like picked up a camera just for the love of taking photos for like a really long time. And then I grabbed my camera and
It's because we were
we had
finding
some
these amazing
finds
things.
and we were just like in the garden and I took pictures and I was like, oh, I'm really enjoying taking photos again. And then it really sparked sort of like, I found like creativity and passion within just creating photographs around the finds.
We were both already illustrating and doing stuff with the finds. I think we just started doing that almost kind of naturally. I don't know, when we started finding things and it was like this big creative like inspiration for us. And then we were posting on Instagram, and then it kind of really took off this year.
And then we started videoing. And I think I ended up getting a new phone because I had like a really old iPhone. God, I don't even know what it was.
I don't know, it was like a brick. I don't know, it was like a...
But it wasn't good at doing video at all.
We both got new phones for videoing.
And then just really got into sort of putting these edits together that I think, well, particularly on Instagram, we really like to like edit it to like music and sort of try and create like a feeling and emotion about it. And then we sort of got a bit obsessed with just like videoing what we were doing.
Yeah, now we almost do it naturally. We don't even think about it. We video, photograph. When we go digging, I'll have a camera on me to take B-roll photos. I'll also have a phone on me to take B-roll footage. And then I'll have all of the finds we've found, all the trash we've found, the spade, everything we dig with.
We used to sort of forget to do the content. And now, we've been doing it long enough that it's just like it's sort of second nature just to video what we're doing.
And for us, it doesn't detract from the digging because we've always done the content with the digging. And it's a large part of what we enjoy about the digging, I think, is the content.
But I think it's funny because a lot of people assume when they see our videos that we've planted finds or they're fake. But then we just sort of sometimes have to remind people, we've been doing this for like 2 years.
We film everything.
It's second nature for us to just film everything that we're doing.
Yeah, literally like full-time vloggers now.
Content
creators.
I've never understood the urge with people online where they have to get in and be like, oh, this is fake. This is my friend Bob who spoke to a guy down the pub who spoke to a guy who owns a farm said that this is fake. So it's definitely true. I've never understood the urge for people to. I can understand like when you get like pop vinyls being cut open because there's apparently a brain in it, but it's that sort of people's almost need for it to be a negative reaction, really.
Yeah, there's definitely is fake stuff out there within the niche. But you can really tell that they're fake. They're really like they're basically digging up full treasure chests and things like that. And nothing's got patina on it or it's tarnished. It looks like it's just been put in the ground yesterday.
But then it's like, I don't know, I feel like social media itself is quite a breeding ground for, it's given people a voice and it's given people maybe feel like they need to share their voice all of the time.
Yes.
When it's not necessarily always relevant. Like sometimes it's better to just enjoy the content and appreciate what you're seeing than question it. Like question validity.
I've always sort of lived by that. Like if I am ever on like TikTok or YouTube and I'm like, oh, I don't really like this, and then I just scroll on like that. I've never understood the mentality of someone to get angry. Although now as I've gotten more used to like the internet and the fact that people are gonna be mean to you no matter what. That I just sort of do. Oh, thank you for the engagement. Like I'll just like thank you for putting me up in the algorithm.
That is how we treat it.
But it's an interesting one, like because I think as content creators, I never really think about consuming content to write hateful comments about it. It's like a thought process that doesn't really I don't really understand.
Yeah, well, it's because I think we view content in a slightly different way. Because when I look at content, I notice things like, oh, particularly nice edits or particularly nice transitions, and I'm like, that was cleverly done. And like that's what I'm watching, not necessarily what the content's about all the time or what is being shown to me.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it takes a lot to leave a, I don't know, what would really make you angry to leave a comment?
I don't know. I feel like
as negative.
A large part of it is because we have social media now and the world is so open. Not everybody's going to be 100% educated about everything all of the time. So a lot of it is simply just a lack of education. They've never seen our content before. They don't know what we do.
Yeah, that's true.
And they have no idea about what they're seeing in front of them. And then they just like to leave a little comment. little present for us. Which is normally fake.
That's often I always say, like, because my TikTok now, my favorite, because obviously TikTok likes to take down videos. I don't know if you guys have had many videos taken down, but when I first started, it's less bad now. When I first started, I had 2 videos taken down, one for harassment and bullying, one for hate speech. Both of those videos were taking the mickey out of the bad guy from World War II. And so I put videos and I was like, I feel like I'm allowed to bully him, TikTok. Like, who's reporting them? And
who's reporting them?
Because I found out that's the only way they can be taken down for that. And I was like, what did I do in this sketch that made you so angry? But I'm glad that that's less of a problem as well, because I know a lot of people. I've spoken briefly to Stakuya, and I'm fairly good friends with Ada Mattis, and they've had loads of stuff taken down. They get horrific. I mean, Stakuya was virtually cancelled for talking about history at one point. And I was like, what? I never understood with the history stuff, especially earlier on with TikTok. It was so poorly managed. Like, I think Stakuya actually had his account taken away by Russian bots at the start of the Ukraine conflict, because the Rush, like, they all came in because he was upset. He literally just made the announcement. It was everyone was, because we was all like, this is literally history happening. We have to kind of say something. And they got mad, and I'm glad that the report system now, because I haven't had a video taken down in about a year. Very quickly touching the table. Yeah. Which I think the report system has got better, but I'm not sure. I think it's because they had so many. Like, I know so many people that had their accounts taken away, like, and they had to go 2 or 3 times back, like in the Wild West of TikTok.
Like, we have to be careful with the fines sometimes, because particularly on a live, we generally, like, we just have no idea what we're going to find, and we do heard of people who've had their accounts like reported and banned for sort of fines like knives, bullets,
we tend
guns. So these sorts of fines can come up, and sometimes if I think, oh, that's like a shotgun, or like a World War II bullet or something, I'll be like, oh, Ellie, we've
kind of got like a system now, haven't we?
A code word for what it is, and then not really show it too much.
There'll be like a little flash that'll be in the bag. There won't be any like showing off of the object.
So that's probably, in terms of like censoring what we find, that's about it really. And it's just like the fines being anything that's gun related, we sort of try to obscure from camera.
I feel like we're quite lucky that we're in history talk, but we're not quite in it enough to incite the haters.
Yeah,
like,
because it's very volatile.
It's more fines and objects.
On the fringes of history talk.
Because we're more talking about objects and the fines. You can't really dispute the history that's related to something that you're seeing in front of you.
Yeah.
But whereas when we get into like the deeper niche questions
dissecting historical figures and all that kind of stuff.
That's when you get
we kind of never go
that far
too deep. If we do, it's probably more likely going to be on Instagram. In written format on our captions.
Yeah.
It's usually
or in our articles on our website.
Or in our articles on our website. It's not often in our videos.
Yeah.
Or on our lives. Because
I've never actually had any hate on Instagram. I've had it on YouTube and I've had it on TikTok, but Instagram is actually I know other people have had adverse.
Been lucky.
Yeah, I've been lucky.
But it's Sorry, go on.
Yeah, each platform sort of has its own.
It has its own specific breed of haters, and they're all different. They're more feral on TikTok than any other platform. That's for sure.
We find YouTube is usually constructive criticism,
which is appreciated and enjoyed. TikTok is just more
random haters.
Random, like, ragey haters.
Ragey.
And then Instagram is more people thinking they know better.
Entitlement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably what we get the most on Instagram is entitlement. People telling you how you should be. Filming your videos and expecting you to reply to them and that kind of
that kind of thing.
It's a sort of like more an entitlement, I feel, which you don't get on TikTok or YouTube.
No, that's true. That is true.
That actually, now you said that, it reminds me of when I did a video on the Franz Stigler and Charlie Brown incident, which is really famous, one of my favourite World War II stories. And I put together a little clip art Photoshop thumbnail, and all of the comments I got on Instagram were, actually, the plane didn't look like that. It actually was far more damaged. And I was like, it's a clip art, and I'm very bad at Photoshop. And it was, and people started sending me. I was like, I can't use this picture because it's copyrighted. Well, I'm going to send it to you in case you want to use it. I can't use it because it's copyrighted. So I get what you mean by Instagram has a sense of entitlement to it.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I think they all have their quirks.
But then we also get incited by, like, there's like a whole coin world where you really don't realize, like, how irate people can get about coins.
Oh yeah,
people get mad about coins.
Yeah. Oh my god, cleaning coins.
Cleaning coins is controversial.
So controversial. Like, oh my god, like, we could, like, there's just all sorts of drama in coin world, aren't there? Coin talk.
It's a whole nother world.
It's a whole nother feral world.
I genuinely did not think that this would be a topic of discussion when I started this podcast. The controversies of coin talk. I didn't. Why is it controversial to clean historical coins?
Cleaning your coins is stripping them of their value. That's the thing. But then they don't account for the fact that we've dug our coins out of the ground. Like, these aren't coins from your nan's box in a cupboard. Like, these are coins that we've dug out the ground, and the kind of cleaning we do is simply removing the surface dirt. We're not doing any kind of
getting rid of the soil.
Kind of abrasive cleaning. Whereas people come onto our lives or our videos and think we're coin collectors who are, like, cleaning this collection that we've gathered or, like, bought.
Yeah.
And aren't aware that we're actually metal detectors who found this coin, who found this Roman coin, and we're just removing this surface dirt so we can actually see what Roman coin we found.
Yeah.
So we can ID it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can ID it and find out the Emperor did horrible things. That's the pattern. So, finishing up and rounding off, is there anything particularly that you would like to find?
Oh, I feel like we've been talking about this today, haven't we?
What was something on
what we want for next year?
A gold stater.
A gold stater, I think,
which
is really
a Celtic
gold
coin. Yeah, is sort of up there.
Definitely up
there. We've
there.
had tastes of Celtic this year.
We've just touched the edges of the Celtic, and I want
scratch the surface, and we'd like to get a full Celtic stater.
And do you know what else I think? A Bronze Age axe.
Oh,
a Bronze Age axe, that would be. Like, or spear, or I'm not fussy. Anything Bronze Age, as long as it's a tool, I'm happy with it.
We're we've had enough of the Romans. We want something older.
Want something older. But yeah, I think. And then, is there anything else? Oh, do you know what? A Saxon penny, like a proper big silver Saxon penny. We've had the skeets, but we haven't had a penny.
No,
and I'd love to find a penny because I feel like I just love their designs, their styles.
They're quite like an iconic coin in terms of like their design and stuff.
Definitely.
And that'd be quite a highlight to find something like that.
Definitely.
So is there any sort of, like, when you say you find, like, weapons, like an axe or like rifle ammunition or something like that, is there, like, do you have to, like, call in the police or, like, go to a museum with it? Like, what's the process with that?
I think it's mainly guns, isn't it? That you have to call the police.
Guns, you have to call the police. Oh, and obviously, like, live unexploded World War II ordnance.
Yeah.
You found ordnance?
We haven't. Oh no!
Okay. We have.
Oh, we found a mortar tail.
A German mortar tail fin.
Oh right. I think
it was like a 12-inch mortar bomb or something. I'm very lucky that I wasn't attached to it.
Yeah. Did you have a moment of like, this is not good? Like,
yeah. We always get a bit. As we only have to be. We are digging in what is fondly known as Bomber County. So you do have to. There is quite a high chance that something like that will come up because a lot of metal detectorists find them. And we were at a rally this year, and we were in one of the new fields. And we were on top of the hill, and when we saw this like this warden zooming in on like a little gator. It's like
and then this
off-road buggy
area
car.
getting like cordoned off.
And like normally when that happens on a rally, it means somebody's found like a hoard or something like amazing, like a really cool find, and we're like, oh my god, someone's found something epic down the bottom of the hill. We were like, let's get down there, let's see what they find. So we go down there, we're like swinging our way down, digging all around this area, pull up around the corner of that area actually.
We did.
And then we find out that it's not a hoard that they've taped off. It's a live, unexploded World War II bomb that someone's found. And they're now clearing the field because somebody's coming to blow it up. But yeah, stuff like that does happen. You do have to call it in. And they normally just get exploded in the field. But it's a hazard of the hobby.
Yeah, so I guess sometimes when we find large metal objects suspicious objects that we don't know what they are, sort of tell Ellie to be careful and then take about
a good distance away,
a few steps back.
Leave me to my peril.
Yeah. Just hide behind a tree, like, go on, you can do it now. You can take it out now. So how do you, if you suspect something's been off, how do you like get it out of the ground, like neat, like what's the word, like neatly sounds wrong. You know what I mean? How do you get it out of the ground and make sure you're not breaking it? Like if you accident, like sit there, oh it's there, but then you put the spade through it, sort of thing. That'd be. I'm too clumsy. That's immediately what I'd do.
I don't think we've ever like
touch
really
wood.
Yeah, immediately touch wood.
Put our spade through anything.
No, we haven't.
The metal detectors have like pretty good like pinpointing technology, so you can sort of get an idea of like how big it is and like where it is.
And then
before you put the spade in.
And then you also have another piece of kit called a pinpointer, which is kind of like a handheld torch that just screams when you get closer to the object. So it just like, it constantly beeps. It's like your car reversing sensor.
Yeah.
So it will just be like constantly beeping, then it will just scream when you get close to the object. And you can normally get a good feel for the size and the shape of the object from the pinpointer and like the location of it.
And Ellie's really good at her finds recovery.
Extraction.
So
just about digging wide enough around where you want to get at so that it will always be in the middle and you're not flicking anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Playing it safe.
Yeah.
And lastly, to round off, is there anything you'd like to say to anyone who wants to get into metal detecting and stuff like that?
Well, I think to get into metal detecting, I mean, I think it's one of the best hobbies. I think you just need to get, if you want to do it.
Yeah,
we've written an article.
We just started in the garden as well.
Yeah, and we did just start in the garden. We literally started in my granddad's back garden. That was our first dig site. So you don't need to have a permission to start off with, but it can be helpful to know you've at least got ties to somewhere you could go. But then you can also join. There's lots of Facebook groups. There's a lot of land out there. There's normally weekly digs throughout the whole year, so you can get out.
And we're like Ellie said, we've written an article, so we're trying to put out more information for people. Who because we get asked a lot of questions about how to start metal detecting, so we've sort of starting to package that knowledge up for people to read on our website.
So it's all available there, pretty much.
Speaking of your website, is there anything you'd like to plug, like social-wise, YouTube and stuff like that?
What would you like to plug, Lucy?
Let's plug the YouTube.
Yeah, plug the YouTube. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, that'd be the goal.
Check out our channel. Our channel is it's like a child for us, isn't it? We've worked hard on it.
We do like a weekly vlog.
Yeah.
So usually all the highlights from our day out digging on Wednesday.
All goes on YouTube.
Little specials.
Little vlog style. But we've done a couple of specials. We're doing a special this week because it's obviously the Christmas special.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Thank you, Ryan.
That's all right. It was a pleasure having you on. If you send me over all your stuff, I'll link it in the description. So people can go straight to it.
Brilliant.
But it was brilliant having you on. And to everyone at home, thank you for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. See you later. Bye.